Hello everyone, my name is Ankit and today we are going to discuss monthly current affairs for the month December 2024. Now we are in a process of uploading these series of videos where you will be told about important current affairs event that appeared in a particular month. I've already uploaded the economy section. You can watch or you can witness the videos in the video section on the YouTube channel, which is provided in the Study IQ IS YouTube channel. Okay. Now, today I will be discussing current affairs from three subjects: geography, environment and disaster management. But you will be asking me, why have you taken three different subjects into one discussion? Now the purpose for that is you have to understand that geography, environment and disaster management, these three are different subjects, however they are interlinked. Also, the geography mentioned in GS paper 1, whereas environment and disaster management, they are mentioned in GS paper 3. But increasingly, you'll see a trend that questions in the geography section may be somewhat related to the environmental related developments. Understood? So, this is how interlinking of these subjects are important. As the new cycle, it does not look them into from a siloed perspective, rather from an integrated perspective. Understood? So this is why I will be discussing all the important articles today from these three subjects. Now let us start our today's discussion. Now, as you can see, I will be discussing more than 12 articles today. Let me tie my jacket first. Yes, 12 important articles today. These appeared in the December month in the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. So let us start without delay our first discussion, which appeared in both Indian Express and the Hindu newspaper. Now, for the purpose, I've demonstrated here the Hindu, but please make sure these appeared in both the newspapers. Now, this article states that the union government, along with the government of Arunachal Pradesh, it is in a process of constructing India's largest hydropower project called as Siang Upper Multipurpose Project. However, as this project, it is very essential for India's security and water related interest, as it will help government counter the effects of China's dam building activities in the upstream of Siang River. However, this kind of construction also puts danger to the environment and ecology of the region, and hence two districts in Arunachal Pradesh, they are witnessing protest of public against this very project. So in our today's discussion, let us try to understand and go through what is this Siang Upper Multipurpose Project and what are its significance as well as challenges in construction of such project. Now, Siang Upper Multipurpose Project, it is a project which is envisaged to generate as much as 11,000 megawatt of hydropower project or hydropower electricity, and it will be done through construction of a 300-meter tall dam. Now, this dam will be constructed on which river? Naturally, the Siang River, which flows in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. Now, if you look at the origin of Siang River here, Siang River originates not in India but in China, somewhere in the east part, that is here, and from that it travels eastward. Now, once before it enters into India in Siang district, it makes a drastic U-turn and it enters India as a Siang River. Therefore, the origination of this river is not in India but in Tibet, located in China, that is near Mount Kailash. Now, it flows about 1,000 kilometers eastward before making a U-turn. That is, it makes a U-turn after it enters into India, and in India, it flows in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, and here it is known as the river Siang. Now, Siang is also an important tributary of which river called as Brahmaputra. So, when this Siang River enters into the state of Assam, this merges into what is known as Brahmaputra River. Understood? So, if the question comes, Siang is a river of which tributary? It is a tributary of Brahmaputra. Now, the importance of Siang Upper Multipurpose Project, you have to understand that it is intended to counter China's largest dam, which it is constructing on the river Sangpo, which is also another name for Brahmaputra River. Now, China, it is constructing world's largest hydropower project, which will generate 60,000 megawatt. What was Siang Upper Multipurpose Project's generation? 11,000 megawatts. So you understand it is more than 5 times the capacity of India's project, which it is undertaken by China. Now, this China's project, you understand, when it is constructing such a large dam, it will have the ability to store large amount of water. But what if China decides to open the gates of the particular dam? It will lead to flow of a huge amount of water into India, and it can also, if this water remains unchecked in India, it can also lead to problems of floods. So as to control the ability or control the flow of this water in India, India required to make a big hydropower project, which it is doing so by the Siang Upper Multipurpose Project. Now the China's project, which is world's largest dam, it is currently the largest in the world, and it is 3 times more than the current largest dam, that is the Three Gorges Dam. And it is intended to divert water into the northern China. Understood? So the scale of Chinese project is huge, and that is why India also needed to construct a similar kind of a dam so as to control the flow of water flowing into India. Now, naturally, this kind of a project also has many concerns, and primarily concern is related to the project's environmental impact. And naturally, whenever such projects has an environmental impact, it also can create some kind of social problems. First of all, whenever you construct a large dam, it will lead to submergence of nearby areas. So nearby ecosystems, wildlife habitats, biodiversity, villages, etc., they will be getting submerged. And that is why the ecosystems, wildlife habitat, they will lose their environmental relevance as they will be submerged underwater. And what if the communities which are inhabiting the villages that will be submerged under the dam, they will have to be displaced. And the tribe which is inhabiting the area which will be affected by sump project is called as Adi tribe. So this is how such an environmental impact can also lead to social impact. Environmental impact, that it will destroy ecosystems, habitats of wildlife as well as biodiversity of the region, which you understand in the area of Arunachal Pradesh is already quite high. However, once these ecosystems will be destroyed, it will also displace the local communities inhabiting the villages of the area, that is in our today's case Adi tribe. That is why such concerns are related to environment, and naturally it can also trickle down to social concerns. Additionally, for projects which are located under the 100 kilometers of India's border, they have been exempted from undertaking any forest clearances or environmental clearances, because government recently made an amendment to the Forest Conservation Act. And this Forest Conservation Act, so as to increase or to reduce the time taken in clearances, it did away with the need of clearances if any strategic project is constructed within 100 kilometers from Indian borders, and hence the government of India will not be needed any kind of a clearance for this purpose project. Understood? So these are the concerns associated with Siang Upper Multipurpose Project. Now let us move to the next article. This article appeared in the Explain section of the Indian Express, and it highlights that recently Prime Minister Modi, he laid down a foundation stone for a project which is located to or which is related to Ken-Betwa river linking project. So our today's discussion will entail the details about this linking project and the phases of implementation, and what are the concerns associated with such a project in the local area. Understood? Now, as you can see, this Ken-Betwa river linking project, it is a part of National River Linking Project, which was originally envisaged to transfer surplus water in one river to another river basin. And the purpose of this project was to transfer water so that the water deficit basins can be filled with water, and hence do away with the threats of drought and dryness. Now, this will be implemented by national water development agencies, and this agency has identified 30 such links which will connect rivers across the India, and these 30 links include 16 links which will be undertaking connectivity of peninsular rivers, whereas 14 rivers will be undertaken under the Himalayan rivers. And the image of whatever project are in planning, this is there. As I have put you a list which says peninsular rivers as well as Himalayan rivers, and they will be connected. And the first project which is undertaken under this initiative is naturally the Ken-Betwa river linking project. Now, the benefit of such projects are many. First of all, it will help government provide irrigation water to the country's agriculture sector. It will also help government generate power from the flow of water, as you can generate hydropower by harnessing the flow of water. and also you can have the ability to tackle drought and floods, as surplus water in cases of floods can be sent to areas which are witnessing drought. So theoretically, you can do away with the problem of drought just by sending water from one river basin to another. So this is what the National River Linking Project actually warrants. Now let us try to understand the Ken-Betwa River Linking Project. This project will include construction of a 221 kilometers long canal which will transfer water from Ken to Betwa. So that is why the naming of this project is Ken-Betwa, not Betwa-Ken, because water is being transferred from Ken to Betwa and not reversely. Okay. And these two rivers, that is Ken and Betwa, they are the tributaries of Yamuna River. So please remember that. Now, as I told you, this kind of a project, it is expected to provide annual irrigation in the drought prone area of Bundelkhand, which is almost 10.62 lakh hectare of land will be irrigated, which will be in the states of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. It will also supply drinking water to about 62 lakh people. And it will also help the government generate about 103 megawatt of hydropower and also solar power once these solar cells will be installed over the canal. So this is how such project is expected to reap significant economic and social dividends to people. It will help provide supply of drinking water. It will help in annual irrigation, which means the crops sown in the area will be fertigated and irrigated, and also generation of power, which will help eventually the businesses and people of living in the area. Now, what are the budget of this project? This budget includes 44,605 crore rupees, which was established based on 2020 to 21 prices, and the entire fund or the majority of fund will be provided by the union government in this area, because this project has been a project of national importance. Understood? Also, these project will be implemented in two phases. The first phase will involve building of the Dhau Dam complex, which was inaugurated by the Prime Minister recently. And it will be a subsidiary unit to other projects, and phase 2 will involve three components, that is Lower Or Dam, Bina Complex Project, Kotha Barrage. Now you don't have to remember the kind of projects which will be implemented in each phase. This is just for your information. What you have to remember that the phase 1 has started because of PM's inauguration of Dhaudan Dam Complex. Understood? So this is what Ken-Betwa River Linking Project is. Now, the region which will benefit out of this project is very important from our geography point of view, and that is why I told you subjects of environment and geography are interlinked, as we are dealing with environmental issue, but here comes the geographical aspect of the syllabus, right? Now, this project will benefit the Bundelkhand region, which is located in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. As you can see from this map, these are 13 districts under Bundelkhand region. Some of them are located, or the northward region of the northward districts of this region is located in Uttar Pradesh, whereas southern districts of Sagar, Damo, Panna, Chhatarpur, etc., these are located in Madhya Pradesh. So this will benefit water stressed region of Bundelkhand, which includes these many districts located in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, and it spreads across 13 districts of Bundelkhand region. Understood? So the map or the districts which are benefiting out of these projects, you have to remember, that is important from our exams point of view. Now let us try to understand what are the environmental and social concerns associated with the project. And naturally, you have to understand, when such river linking project or the canal is being constructed, this canal will flow over a land, right? And this land will also include the land currently under the Panna Tiger Reserve. So, large-scale deforestation of the Panna National Park and Panna Tiger Reserve will have to take place so as to enable construction of canal, and this will lead to deforestation in the region. And why is deforestation so risky for Panna Tiger Reserve? Because earlier, tiger became locally extinct in 2009. However, a significant population of tiger now is present in Panna Tiger Reserve because they were successfully reintroduced in the region. Also, not just tigers, but Ghadial population located in Ken Ghadial Sanctuary will also be affected, along with the vultures who are nesting near the sites of Panna Tiger Reserve and Ken Ghadial Sanctuary. So, these three species of the area, all of which are quite vulnerable from the conservation perspective, these will be affected. Also, displacement of people will happen in Chhatarpur district and Panna district. Both of them are located in Madhya Pradesh, and it also will involve moving of large quantities of water, which according to some experts will affect the land atmosphere interplay in the region and the ability of the land and atmosphere to feedback each other. Thereby, it is expected that in long term, it will lead to rainfall deficit in the region by approximately 12% in the months of September. Now, why this rainfall deficit is very critical? As I told you, the region which is benefiting out of this project is already water starved, and it is mostly fed by rainfall water, or it is rain fed region. So that is why any reduction in rainfall will make it more water starved and water stressed. That is why such kind of a project shall be taken, or the environmental concern shall be taken quite importantly. Understood? Now let us move to another article. This article appeared in the Indian Express, in the Delhi section of the Indian Express. But what you have to remember, that this article talks about a rare species of bat which was spotted in the Yamuna Biodiversity Park located in Delhi. So that is why such kind of important species and news are important from our exams perspective. Also in the prelims, this 2024 itself, we saw a question on flying fox bats. So that is why such important species which are there in news, you have to remember their three aspects: their habits, their habitats, that what location do are they find out, and also their conservation status, that is what are the laws and regulations in order to conserve. And these three factors you have to remember about any species that are in news. Understood? So let us try to understand habit, habitats and conservation status of this particular bat, which is called as Wroughton's free-tailed bat. Now, the habit of this bat includes that it is very ecologically important because it helps regulating insect population in the area, and it is also known to assist in the process of pollination, which is very important for the process of germination of new seeds and growth of plantation in the area. Now, the areas or habitats which these bats are usually found are primarily in Western Ghats, as there is only one known breeding colony in Western Ghats, whereas smaller colonies of these bats, they are there in northeastern part of India, that is in state of Meghalaya, particularly Jaintia Hills region. Now, a single individual was noted in Cambodia, so theoretically there is an expectation that a population of Wroughton free-tailed bat also lives in Cambodia. Understood? Now, the kind of characteristic or the kind of features that this bat shows is that it is characterized by large size, huge ears, which is extending beyond the muzzle, and it is covered by a bicolored velvet fur, which you can see from this kind of an image. Right now, this kind of a bat is typically available in caves and darker areas and slightly warm places in moderate colonies. Understood? Now, these are available in moderately warm areas, so that is why they are found in areas of Western Ghats and Meghalaya, which are not very cold in nature. Also, the kind of legal protection or conservation status these bats have is that under the IUCN Red List, they are categorized as data deficient because adequate amount of data on their conservation is not available with IUCN. Whereas India's Wildlife Protection Act is concerned, it is protected under Schedule 1, which means hunting, capturing of these kind of bats are illegal in India. Understood? So this is how you will cover any species which is in use. You have to know what are their habits, what are their habitats that they are found in, and their conservation status. Understood? Now, moving to another article, this one states that the Arctic tundra region, which is located in the North Pole, it is emitting more carbon than it is absorbing. So, in this article, we'll try to understand the characteristic of Arctic tundra region and how it is trying to absorb, or what are the reasons in which it absorbs the carbon dioxide and why it is now emitting more carbon dioxide rather than it is absorbing. Now, the Arctic tundra region, or any tundra region for that matter, it is characterized by cold climates and treeless region which receives very low amount of precipitation. However, the most important part of this region is that there is a layer of permanently frozen ground in this region called as permafrost. And it is this permafrost which enables the Arctic region to store a large amount of carbon dioxide. How? I will tell you in the next slide. Now, the location of these tundra regions are found in the Arctic, or in the tops of high mountain, or in the area of Antarctica. that is located in South Pole, and these areas, they cover about 20% of Earth's surface. So if the question comes, are tundra region found only in Arctic and Antarctic, the answer is no. It is also found on top of higher mountain ranges, particularly Himalayas. Understood? Now, the climate of this region, naturally you can say it is the coldest biome on Earth, which is characterized by long, dark and cold winters, whereas this growing season, which is the summer season, is very short in these regions. And the mean temperatures of this region, it remains below the value of 0 degrees centigrade for about 6 to 10 months every year. So that is why the winters are very cold, whereas the growing season is very short in these regions. Now let us try to understand the feature of the kind of vegetations which are found in this area. These are known for large stretches of bare ground and rock. That is, the vegetation, if present, are scarcely available, and only there is an existence of patchy mantles of low vegetation. Now, these areas, they are covered for a greater part of year with snow. However, summer season, whenever it happens, it brings bursts of wildflowers in the region. So that is why I told you that growing season is present. However, it is very short. Now, the kind of animals, flora and fauna which inhabit this area, it includes herbivorous, carnivorous and omnivorous animals. Herbivorous are those which eats plant. Carnivorous are those which eats other animals and insects, and omnivorous are the ones who eat both plants and animals. And it includes wolves, fox, musk, marmot, elk, etc. So these are the important species that inhabit the area. So please take note of the ones that I have highlighted here with red. Understood? Now, let us try to understand how does Arctic region or any tundra region stores the carbon dioxide. Now, in a typical ecosystem like wherever you and I live, the plants, they are able to absorb carbon dioxide just by the process of photosynthesis. But what happens when that plant dies? So, when that plant dies, it is fed by a species called microorganisms, and these microorganisms, they help break down the larger components which are stored in the tissues of plant. And this is the process of it is called as the process of decomposition. Understood? Now, this decomposition process, it helps return of CO2 back to atmosphere, which it was earlier captured by the plants by the process of photosynthesis. So this is the normal carbon dioxide cycle in a typical ecosystem. However, in tundra, whenever the plant dies, these are not fed by microorganisms because the temperatures are very low, and this lower temperature and the presence of ice, it helps trap the amount of carbon dioxide which are stored in the corpses of these plants who have died in the tundra region. And this is how the tundra region is able to store huge amount of carbon dioxide. That is, there is a layer of ice over the dead corpses of plant, and this helps store the amount of carbon dioxide and not let the process of decomposition happen. Understood? So this prevents CO2 from being released back into the atmosphere. Now, because of increase in global temperatures, which you have seen is very prominent in the polar regions, that is, the amount of increase in temperature in polar region is twice the amount of increase in temperature in other regions, and that is why the ability to have stored the carbon dioxide just by the virtue of ice or permafrost, it is reducing in tundra region, and that is why it has taken a hit. That is, the ability to store the carbon just by the virtue of permafrost has actually reduced, and therefore the rising temperature, as the region is warming 4 times the global rate, it has led to melting of ice, or what is called as thawing of permafrost. Thawing, in other words, is also meant by melting of ice. Now, this melting of ice, you can understand, releases large amount of dead plants into the atmosphere, and when these plants are exposed into the atmosphere, the microorganisms will try to feed these plants and then result into breaking down of molecule and release of carbon dioxide back into atmosphere. So this is how the ability of this region to store carbon dioxide is reducing. Also, the frequency and intensity of wildfires are also increasing in the region, and this wildfire smoke is adding another dimension of greenhouse gas emission. So this is how emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are happening in the tundra region. That is by melting of ice, which releases the carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere, and increasing emission of greenhouse gases because of wildfires in the region. Understood? Now let us move to another article of the day. This article, as you can see, appeared in the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the phenomena of La Nina and how it affects the India's climate. Understood? Now let us try to understand the region where La Nina, El Nino, etc. happen. This is the region of southern Pacific Ocean, particularly the eastern coast of South America. Now, whenever the normal conditions happen in the eastern coast of South America, there we see a process called upwelling of water happens in the east coast of South Africa. Now, during the process of upwelling of cold waters, what we have seen that the cold waters which are present in the bottom layers of ocean, as we are seeing, as I was saying, the upwelling process is where the bottom part of the ocean, which consists of cold waters, it comes over the surface, and this results into accumulation of cold water in the southern, in the eastern coast of in the western coast of South America. Understood? And this is the process of upwelling of water. Now, these cold waters, when they emerge into the western coast of South America in interaction with trade winds, they move westwards, and therefore the temperature of these waters increase, and hence this is the normal condition which exists in the southern part of Pacific Ocean, particularly from the western part of South America. Now let us try to understand the abnormal conditions, that is the conditions of El Nino and La Nina. Now I told you upwelling of water happens here in the western part of South America, and that is the normal condition. But what if this upwelling of water reverses? Rather, there takes place accumulation of hot water in this region. It is called as a El Nino condition. Understood? So this El Nino condition is actually an abnormal condition which increases the accumulation of hot water into the southern coast of, into the western coast of South America. Now this is the El Nino condition, and it affects India's climate in adverse regions, as the region of Pacific Ocean between Indonesia and South America, which is the southern part of Pacific, it becomes warmer than usual. And also this El Nino, it brings extreme summers into India and brings drought conditions into India. Whereas the other areas are concerned, particularly southern US, it increases the rainfall in the region. So it is associated with decrease in rainfall in India. So this is how El Nino affects in India. So now let us consider what is this La Nina condition that the article was talking about. Now we told you about the normal conditions when the upwelling of cold water happens over the western coast of South America. Whereas in El Nino, the accumulation of warmer water happens here, that is reversal of this condition. But if the normal condition, it intensifies into accumulation of large amount of cold water into the western part of South America, that is known as La Nina condition. Understood? So it is a phase of ENSO where the region of Pacific Ocean between Indonesia and South America, that is this region, it becomes cooler than usual. Now, if it was warmer than usual, that was El Nino. If it was cooler than usual, it becomes a La Nina condition. And this is what a La Nina is about. Now, whenever La Nina happens in this part of the globe, it affects India's climate by bringing, higher or above normal rainfall in India. And it also exhibits or creates drought-like conditions in the continents of Africa and intensifies hurricanes over the Atlantic Ocean. So as far as India is concerned, El Nino conditions, they increase the amount of rainfall that happen in India. Understood? So this is how La Nina affects India, that it increases the amount of rainfall. Now let us try to understand the meteorology in India during the process of La Nina. Now whenever La Nina happens, as I told you, it increases rainfall, but it also leads to colder than usual winters in northern part of India. While La Nina winters, they feature colder nights when compared to El Nino. However, when it compares to daytime temperature during La Nina, the daytime temperatures are expected to be higher. Whereas talking about the wind speed, it is higher than what is throughout the day during La Nina winters. And this faster winds, it helps reduce air pollution by transporting large amount of pollutants away from the land. So you can expect areas like Delhi, it can witness lower amount of pollution just because of the feature of La Nina, as it has higher average wind speed. Now talking about the summers, if the La Nina conditions they continue till summer, it is expected that it will bring some kind of a relief from high heat, and also it will lead to increased rainfall, as I told you earlier. Understood? So this is how the La Nina affects the meteorology of India. Now, let us understand or try to understand the trends in La Nina in previous few years. This decade, that is decade of 2020 onwards, it began with 3 consecutive incidences of La Nina, and this is known as triple dip La Nina, which was followed by an El Nino like conditions in the year 2023. Now, the phenomenon of climate change, which is changing the climate across the world, it is expected to increase the both frequency and intensity of such abnormal events like La Nina and El Nino, and that will lead to rising sea and land temperatures, which will further disrupt the balance of Pacific Ocean. And this extreme La Nina events, it can also lead to harsher winters in northern part of India. Understood? So this is what today's article about La Nina was talking about. Now, let us move to another article. This one appeared in the text and context section of the Hindu newspaper, and it told India's reliance on China for critical minerals. Now, this article is usually important from geographical perspective. That is why I've said here it is important from GS paper 1 syllabus. Now, first of all, you have to understand the context of this article, that Ministry of Mines, which is responsible for mining parts in the country, it in 2023 identified as many as 30 minerals and categorized them as a critical mineral because they were essential for India's economic development as well as national security. Now, this report highlighted that India has a complete import dependency for as many as 10 of these critical minerals. However, this report was silent about the sources of import where India were importing these critical minerals for, and it is expected that China is usually the biggest source from where India is importing its critical mineral needs. Understood? So, in that regard, let us first of all try to understand what is this critical mineral. Now, any metallic or non-metallic element, these are categorized as critical mineral based on 2 factors. First of all, they are essential for functioning of our modern economy, modern technology and national security applications, and there is a significant risk that the supply chain or the supply of these minerals, they are expected to be disrupted at some point or the other. So these are the 2 conditions that needs to be fulfilled for any element, be it metallic or non-metallic, to be classified as a critical mineral. Now, China, it dominates the supply of critical mineral quite prominently because it has vast resource base, and it has also made some strategic investment across the entire supply chain or the value chain of these minerals. Now, let us try to understand how does China dominate over the supply of critical minerals. As I told you, it has a large resource base in its own territory. However, it also has made significant development in processing and refining capabilities of these minerals so that it could extract these minerals out of the deposits that is there. Now, 87% of rare earth processing or rare earth elements processing, 58% of processing or refining of lithium, as well as 68% of processing of silicon is currently undertaken by China. Now, these lithium, silicon, they are, as usual, they are very important. Lithium is used for making batteries which are used in our mobile, electric vehicles, etc. Whereas silicon, it is used in semiconductor, in manufacturing of solar cells, etc. Also, China has strategically invested in other countries also wherever the mines or deposits of strategic minerals are there. And China is not just extracting those minerals from other countries, but it is also undertaking significant development in refining and processing capabilities. So that is why China is not just controlling the mines which is located in China, but it is also controlling mines located in other African countries. So that is how China tries to dominate the entire supply chain of critical minerals. Now, China is also trying to control the supply by imposing certain kind of export controls. First of all, it is targeting minerals which are in high demand in Western nations so that the ability of Western nations to source these minerals diminish. And also, it is balancing 2 constraining factors. First of all, it is trying to avoid controlling any mineral which requires any kind of Western import. Also, it is refraining from actions that could disrupt its own domestic industry. So except these two factors, China is trying to control the supply of critical minerals, and rather it is wanting to reduce the supply to Western nations so as to protect its advantage over Western nations. Understood? Now let us try to understand where does India comes in this picture. Now, as I told you, out of 30 critical minerals, India acutely dependent or is dependent on Chinese supply for 6 critical minerals, and it exceeds more than 40% of the demand of these 6 minerals. These are bismuth, lithium, silicon, titanium, tellurium, as well as graphite. Now, the use cases of these minerals are quite high. Bismuth, they are used in pharmaceutical and chemical production. Lithium, as you know, are used for making batteries which can power our electric vehicles, or it can also lead to energy storage solutions. Silicon, they are used for manufacturing of semiconductor and construction of solar panels, whereas titanium, they are used in aerospace and defense application because the weight of titanium is quite less, whereas the strength of titanium is quite high. So this is where the applications of titanium are. Whereas tellurium are used in solar power and thermoelectric devices, and graphite, you know, is used in steel production as well as EV manufacturing. So these 6 critical minerals, for import of these critical minerals, India is dependent primarily on China for more than 40% of these imports. Understood? Now, you have to understand, why does India have to rely on imports? There are several conditions. First of all, that the minerals which are present in India, these critical minerals, they are located in deep-seated mines, and that is why to extract these minerals, you require high-risk investments and exploration, which or the technologies which currently is not available with private companies, and whether they are available with private companies also, the private companies themselves are not willing to invest in these high risky business ventures. Also, the country's processing capabilities of these minerals after they are mined, they are also quite low, and that is why India is not able to harness the lithium deposits which it has found in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So this is the reason why is India not able to develop the mining as well as refining capabilities of strategic minerals and critical minerals. Now let us try to understand some suggestions which can be used by Government of India so as to make India a not an importer of critical minerals, rather a producer of critical minerals themselves. For that, Indian government has established a company called Kabil, which is Khanij Videsh Limited, and this company is responsible for securing overseas mineral assets, that it is looking to develop its own assets in other countries where it can mine and process the strategic minerals and critical minerals. It has joined many multilateral initiatives, primarily the Mineral Security Partnership and the Critical Raw Minerals Club, which is intended to diversify India's supply chain, and also it will strengthen partnerships to further develop the supply chain of the strategic and critical minerals. Also, it is investing in research through institutions like CSR as well as CSIR. It is promoting recycling and circular economy so as to reduce the demand overall for these critical minerals, and also it is undertaking production linked incentive scheme so as to promote companies which are looking to extract critical minerals through process of recycling, and this kind of a scheme is kind of seem promising. So these are certain suggestions that the government might incorporate, primarily bringing a production linked incentive like schemes for companies who are enriching and extracting critical minerals, and it will help India become a net exporter and not importer of critical minerals. Now moving to next article, this one also appeared in the explain section of Indian Express, and it talks about a latest Indian state of forest report which was brought by Forest Survey of India. Now the latest report is for the year 2023. So we'll be discussing this report in our today's discussion. Now the context, as I told you, that 18th biennial report was published by the Forest Survey of India, and it has found a marginal gain of 156 square kilometers in country's forest cover, whereas there is a sizable increase in India's tree cover since the last report which happened in 2021. Now, for the first time, according to this report, India's green cover has exceeded 25% threshold, that by combining area under forest and area under tree cover, the sum total is more than 25% of India's total land, and this is the most important factor of our today's discussion. Now, let us try to understand what is this India Forest Taste Report is all about. It was published by Forest Survey of India, and it is published biennially, which means once every 2 years. Now, this Forest Survey of India is an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and it assesses and monitors India's forest resources. And the headquarters of Forest Survey of India is located in the city of Uttarakhand, that is the capital of Dehradun, which is the capital of Uttarakhand. Now, the report, that is India State Forest Report, it publishes information on forest cover, tree cover, mangrove cover, growing stock of India's forest cover, how much carbon stock does India's forest hold, as well as instances of forest fire and agroforestry. Understood? Now, let us try to understand the important facts given in last year's report, that was 2023. In terms of forest and tree cover, as I told you, for the first time, India surpassed the figure of 25%. Now, the largest three states in terms of largest area under forest and tree cover, these are MP, followed by Arunachal Pradesh, followed by the state of Maharashtra. Whereas top three states having just the forest cover, not forest and tree cover, are MP, Arunachal Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. So, last third position has been changed here. Now, in terms of top three states, whereas the percentage wise coverage is not Madhya Pradesh, rather it is the Lakshadweep Union Territory, followed by Mizoram state, followed by the Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar. Whereas Lakshadweep has more than 90% of area under forest cover, followed by Mizoram and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So, this is the most important, that is from percentage wise, highest percentage wise area under forest cover is in Lakshadweep, followed by Mizoram, followed by Andaman and Nicobar. Now, in terms of presence assessment, the report has highlighted that as many as 19 states and union territories have more than 1/3 of their area under forest cover, and 8 out of these 19 states, that is Mizoram, Lakshadweep, Andaman, Nicobar, Arunachal, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Tripura and Manipur, their forest area above 75% of their land. So, these are union territories, Lakshadweep and Andaman, Nicobar, and others are states located in northeastern part of the country. Now, the total mangrove cover was approximately 5,000 square kilometers, whereas bamboo bearing area has also witnessed an increase of about 5,227 square kilometers. Now, moving to another factors, total carbon stock, it increased to 8.1 million tons of carbon stock, whereas in terms of changes compared to 2021 assessment, total tree and forest cover, it has increased by about 1,500 square kilometers. Now, the states with maximum increase in forest and tree area were Chhattisgarh, UP, Odisha and Rajasthan, whereas in terms of forest cover alone, it was Mizoram, Gujarat and Odisha. Understood? So, these are less important points for this. Now, let us try to understand what are the key factors which we have to worry about this year's analysis. Was that area which is larger than the area of Goa state has actually disappeared in India in the last 2 years, and it has been, as India has witnessed complete destruction of more than 6.3% of its dense forest area, which is nearly the half size of the state of Punjab. So, this much area has been completely destructed, and these areas had presence of about dense forest, which is very ecologically beneficial. So, to compensate the loss of land and forest area, what the government has done, it has undertaken rapid transformation in terms of setting up of new plantations which are non-forested region. However, to understand the importance of plantation in terms of ecological diversity as well as ecological importance is quite less than the open forest, because open forest, they have presence of different amount of trees and hence they are quite diverse, whereas plantations, they are monocropping in nature and hence the diversity or ecological diversity is not there. So, in theoretical terms, although the government has compensated for the loss of green cover, however, in terms of ecological diversity, the compensation has not been provided. So, this is the total analysis of Indian State Forest Report of the year 2023, which appeared in the news in the month of December. Now, moving to next article. This article, as you can see, appeared in the Hindu newspaper, and it stated that a tiger which lived in the Similipal forest of Odisha, it had strayed into the state of West Bengal, that is in the district of Purulia. And this issue has created a sort of tension between West Bengal government and the Odisha government, that now West Bengal government is not looking to return the tiger. Understood? Now, in this article, what is important is actually the protected area of Similipal Tiger Reserve. And as usual, you also have to understand in terms of this protected area that what kind of animals do habit this area, what are the important keystone species, what are the flora and fauna of this area. Now, this Similipal Tiger Reserve is located in Mayurbhanj district of Odisha, and this area, you have to understand, is surrounded by presence of high plateaus and hills, and this area also has twin peaks of Khari Baru and Meghashini, which is more than 1500 meters above sea level. Now, this area was declared as a tiger reserve in 1956. It was included in Project Tiger in 1973, and after that, it became a part of World Network of Biosphere Reserve, which is an initiative of UNESCO. Now, in terms of terrain, as I told you, it has plateau and hills, which means mostly undulating hills, and it is interspread by open grasslands and woody areas, and that makes it quite adequate for inhabiting the population of tigers. Now, the vegetation of this area is mixed with different kind of forests. However, the tropical moist deciduous forest is the dominating area with presence of some evergreen patches. So, if this question appears on what kind of vegetation dominates the Similipal Tiger Reserve, it will be tropical moist deciduous forest. Now, this region, you have to also understand, it inhabits variety of tribes, which includes Kola, Santhal, Bhumija, Batodi, Gonda, Khadia, Mankedia, as well as Sahara tribes. Understood? Now, let us understand the flora of this region. The most important flora of this region is actually this simul, which is another name for red silk cotton, and it is only the simul name which gives Similipal its name of Similipal. Now, this is the dominant flora of the region, whereas in terms of fauna, it is the only landscape in the world which is home of melanistic tigers. Now, from the image, you can see the tiger behind me is a melanistic tiger, and as you can see, the presence of these dark patches or black patches in the tiger, it is quite prominent than tigers located in other districts, and this is what the melanistic tiger is all about. That is due to a genetic conditions. Although the tiger is same, however, the patterns on this tiger is quite prominent, that is the black patches. Understood? Now, this area, in addition to melanistic tigers, also has leopard, gaur, elephant, langur, spotted deer, etc., as well as monitor lizard, pangolin, etc. Understood? Now, let us move to another article. This one appeared in the Indian Express newspaper, and it stated that the President Trump, which is now in power, he had demanded previously that the control of Panama Canal, which is currently with the Republic of Panama, should be shifted back to United States. So, our today's discussion will involve what is this Panama Canal and how it was constructed by United States and when it was transferred to the country of Panama. Now, the context, as I have already told you, that President Trump has demanded the control of this man-made waterway which connects Atlantic with Pacific Oceans. Now, from this map you can see, before the Panama Canal was constructed, the ships which were moving from the eastern coast of United States, that is near the areas of New York City, and they were transporting goods to city of San Francisco, which is located in the western part of United States. It had to traverse along the coast of South America and take a U-turn here, then coming to the San Francisco. And for this long journey, which included about 13,100 nautical miles, the ship, it had to travel longer distances. So it was in United States economic interest to reduce this long distance, and for that it created a man-made canal here in the Isthmus of Panama, and that allowed the ships now to transverse through a shorter region, which is just 5,200 nautical miles. Now, this 5,200 nautical miles, it has reduced more than half the distance earlier the ships required to travel, and that is why Panama Canal is very important for US's shipping industry. So, this is the man-made waterway which was constructed by United States, and it is one of the two most strategic artificial waterways in the world, another one being Suez Canal, which connects Mediterranean Sea with that of Red Sea. Now, this canal, that is Panama, is approximately 80 kilometers in length, and it was built by United States between 1904 to 1914, and it officially opened for ships in the month of August in 1914. Understood? Now, the control of this canal currently is vested with the Republic of Panama. However, this was earlier with United States, and United States decided to transfer it to Panama back in 1999. But even today, the US government, it has the power to militarily defend Panama Canal if there is any threat to the control or neutrality of Panama Canal. And this Panama Canal, it has a series of navigational locks which enables the ship which is transversing through the canal to get lifted from above sea level, transverse the canal, and eventually land itself to the other part of the ocean. Understood? So let us try to understand how these canals or the locks work. Suppose if a ship was traveling from here, when it comes from the sea level here, there are many locks here, here, which rises the ship above sea level here. So once the ship reaches here, it allows the ship to traverse this canal, and another set of locks brings the ship back to another side of the ocean. Understood? So these are lakes, Gatton Lake, Miraflores Lake, etc., which is a man-made lake made possible only because of these navigational locks, as it helps ship rises above the sea level. Understood? So this is what the Panama Canal was all about. Now let us move to another article. As the Madhya Pradesh government, it is looking to establish a new home for cheetahs, and this new home for cheetahs will be established in the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now this Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, as you can see from the map behind me, it is located on the northern boundary of the state of MP, that is on Mandsaur and Neemuch district of MP. Now an important river called Chambal River, it passes through this sanctuary, so you have to remember this Chambal River flows through Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, as the case with Similipal Tiger Reserve, let us try to understand important flora and fauna of Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Flora, it includes mixture of dry deciduous forest and riverine evergreen patches, and the principal tree species which inhabit this area is khair, salai, khardai, dwara, tendu, palash, etc. Whereas in terms of fauna, this area is dominated by Chinkara population as well as Nilgai and Sambar population, which will provide feed to the tigers or leopards which will inhabit this area. Also the cheetahs. So this is why such area is important for redevelopment or relocation of cheetahs which are relocated from other countries. Also cheetal, wild pig, peafowl, Indian leopard, they also inhabit this area. So does mugger crocodile, which are also present. So in terms of fauna, which will provide eventually the food for cheetahs, it has chinkara, nilgai, sambar, cheetal, etc. Understood? Now let us move to another article. This article appeared in the text and context section, and it highlights that the BJD, which was earlier in power in Odisha, it is trying to protest against the Polavaram project. And why it is protesting? Because the Andhra Pradesh government, it has taken some changes in design which will lead to increase in area under the water in the Odisha region. Now this Polavaram irrigation project, it spreads across 4 states, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, and it covers Papikonda National Park of Andhra Pradesh. Now the river over which this project is constructed is the Southern Ganga, also known as Godavari, and it will facilitate inter-basin water transfer from Godavari to Krishna through a link canal. So the water will be transferred from Godavari to Krishna, and this is an important development, and it has been declared as a national project, which means majority of funds for this project will be given by union government, and it is conceived on the recommendation of Godavari Water Dispute Tribunal, which was established as a part of Article 262 of the Indian Constitution. Now, what are the implications and concerns, and why is a political party protesting against this project? Now, based on the IIT Roorkee study, it has been estimated that the Andhra Pradesh's government has made unilateral changes in the design. That is, it has not concerned or it has not consulted with other state governments such as Telangana, Odisha, which has interest on this project, and rather it has made unilateral changes in design, which is estimated to flood now about 58 lakh cusecs of water, and it will lead to submergence level or increase in submergence level to 232.28 feet. Earlier, it was sanctioned that it will lead to submergence of 192.38 feet of waters. However, it has lead to now increased levels of submergence in the state of Odisha. Now, such project or such high level of submersion will also adversely impact the Malkangiri district of Odisha, as it will submerge nearly 7,600 hectares of land and displace more than 6,800 people. Also, there are remedial measures such as constructing and projecting embankments that could have done. However, by such increased level of submergence, even such protective measures will not be that effective. So this is why there are concerns associated with such project, and that is why the government or the political parties located in Odisha are protesting against the unilateral change in design. Understood? Now let us move to the last article of the day. This article appeared in the Indian Express newspaper, and as you can see, this highlighted last week's development as there was intense cold in Delhi, which brought a conditions of cold wave conditions. So from this article, what is important is that what are cold wave like conditions? Now cold wave is a time period which is an intense period of cold, and it is categorized by IMD whenever the minimum temperatures breaches two kind of conditions. First of all, if it is equal to or less than 10 degrees Celsius at the weather station in plains, then it is called as a cold wave. However, when this condition is fulfilled and the minimum temperature is 4.5 to 6.4 degrees below the normal temperature, then it is categorized as a cold wave. So first, these two conditions will have to be fulfilled, that the temperature will have to become less than 10 degrees centigrade and it has to be 4.5 to 6.4 degrees centigrade below normal temperature. And whenever, irrespective of the temperature difference from normal, minimum temperature is less than or equal to 4 degrees centigrade, then also the cold wave like conditions are declared. So these are two factors. First is a combination of these two factors and another one is third factor. Okay. Now, what are the factors that brought cold wave like conditions into Delhi? First of all was strong northwesterly winds which were bringing winds from the Eurasian region into India. Second one is precipitation conditions in form of snowfall which was observed in the states of Himachal Pradesh, and these cold winds or presence of snow in the Himalayas automatically increases the cold in Delhi. Also, there was absence of any significant western disturbances which would have carried the cold waves out of Delhi. This was not there, and that is why these kind of conditions they persisted or continued over Delhi. Understood? So this is why this are the condition why cold waves or when are cold waves declared. That first of all you have to satisfy two parameters. The temperature has to become lower than 10 degrees centigrade and it has also be lower than 4.5 to 6.4 degrees below the normal temperatures. And if irrespective of the departure from normal, the temperature falls below the 4 degree centigrade mark, then also the cold wave conditions are declared. So this was all for our news development for the previous month from the subjects geography, environment and disaster management. Stay tuned to our Study IQ IAS YouTube channel for more such videos, as we are in the process of uploading monthly current affairs for all the subjects. So until then, please keep watching, keep revising, and more importantly, keep writing.